Hey everybody, this is Melina from ScrapBookingWithMe.com and me, Crafty Scrapper, here on YouTube and Instagram, and today is an episode of our new Just Journal January, Mom and I, over at Scrapbooking with Me Crafts. We are collaborating this month and giving you step-by-step instructions on how to put together a junk journal or a journal in general, and you know, bookbinding, things like that. This week is all about the cover, and we are putting in or making, in addition to using some bubble packaging. A lot of us got this kind of packaging over the holidays, so we probably have this. It's got the bubble kind of mailer, but I've just got just one little sheet of it. It's not the whole mailer itself, just a little sheet. Gives a little bit more texture to it. I will link Mom's week 1 video in the description box below. Her cover come out so cute. I am using, she used fabric on both sides of the mailer. I'm using some muslin fabric on the inside. On the outside, I'm using this leatherette foam kind of felt material. I'm going to use that on the outside, this on the inside. And for our stitching, the challenge was we need to do some kind of stitching or something on the cover itself. So with my stitching, I have a needle, I have some crochet thread that's the same cream color as my fabric, and I'm going to experiment with that and see how that turns out. We might even do a little decorative crochet edge to our journal. That's why I have a crochet hook. I have a B or a 2.25 millimeter crochet hook with my crochet thread here. So we'll see how that all plays out. But let's go ahead and get everything cut down to size and get it just glued on, just so it'll stick until I start doing my stitching. I wanted to do, Mom did some machine stitching. She also did some hand stitching, just finished edge hand stitching too. But I wanted to do all of mine hand stitch just in case there's somebody out there that does not have a sewing machine, or doesn't know how to use a sewing machine, or just doesn't want to get out their sewing machine. So maybe this one will help you. So I have this piece of felt fabric. It was gifted to me, and it is that lighting right there, that's the color of it. It's like a really dark maroon lighting. Closer I get to the camera, the more it distorts the color. But this is 12 inches long by 9 inches tall. So I'm going to cut this piece of bubble mailer. I almost said mubble baler. 12 by 9 also. Okay. So, I don't know that I have, do I have 12? I do, look at there. I have 12. It's not cut straight, so I do need to cut that. So let's get this in here and see if I can get 9 inches. I'm going to go a little bit longer than 9 inches and get myself a straight edge going. So I'm going to run it in my trimmer and then get out my shears and try my best to get myself a straight edge. Now we're going to cover this, so no worries if you cannot get just a perfect straight edge with your bubble material. Now, some people might be saying, why in the world are you using bubble material? That's just silly. Well, it's going to get you a nice little crinkle when you open up that journal, and it's just something to use, you know. Let's use up some junk mail stuff, you know, just something to use. So I'm going to fold that over and hopefully get a close to straight edge on this side. Okay. And then my 12-inch side. I'll line it up as best I can. You know, trimmers are not made for bubble packaging, that's for sure. Okay, that edge is pretty straight. It come off of the end of the packaging, so I'm not gonna trim that edge, and I think we'll be good to go. So let's cut off that side. Make sure that we are 12 by 9. We are. So since my fabric on the inside is lighter, I'm going to put it on that side of the mailer. And then this side we'll cover up with this. Now, same thing as what Mom did. I'm going to look around at this, and if there's any edges that look like they're going to show, I'm going to trim that off. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and glue this down with just some glue stick. I'm going to go ahead and glue it down, and then I'm going to come around on this side and get me a really good look at where I need to trim that package. So glue stick, I'm almost out of this glue stick. I need to get me another one. I have another one here, so I'll restock in just a second. But I'm putting my glue on the bubble mailer itself. See, I love that sound. I will have the blog post where you've got freebies, y'all, too, with all of this project. You will have some freebies, and we will be picking winners for people that played along with us. You just have to use that hashtag JustJournalJanuary on Facebook or here on YouTube or Instagram, wherever you post your stuff. Okay, I'm going to get this just as center as possible and move it around as much as we need to. And then smush it down and turn it over, and then we'll see where we need to trim. Okay, so this edge here needs a trimming. Just a little off, because when I put the fabric in, it's going to cover this up anyway, so we'll be good. Trim that little bitty dolly off, and then we can scooch it over some, because our glue stick is very forgiving. Okay, and then I'm going to trim off just a little 1/16 of an inch off the top too. And I do not care if I get some jagged edge. I'm okay with that. These Tim Holtz shears are amazing to trim off just a little excess of anything. All right, now I can see the back of my felt material all the way around except this little edge right here. I'm just going to come in here and barely trim off that little piece there so that I can see black edge all around. Now I will do the same thing on this side of the mailer. Okay, and then put down this fabric and cover it all around. I had already cut this fabric about the same size as my felt. Okay, and now when I close it, I can see that on the edges there, and I really like that. So I'm going to leave it as is, but then I also need to make sure that it is covering all of that mailer. And if I've got some issues, like this mailer has come away from the felt a little bit on the other side, so that's why I was having that issue. And then I'm just going to come back in and really glue those corners down. So this almost it does feel like quilt-like. I love the feel of this. So you can hear the bubble mailer, and then it is just like quilt. I really love that. And like I said, I like that it is sticking out. The inside is sticking out further than this side. So I'm good with that. And I want to do some crochet, just some really easy crochet stitch, a running stitch. So this, of course, crochet yarn, thread, whatever, is lots thicker than your normal sewing thread. And you'll need a larger eyed needle. There we go. And let's cut off some of our crochet thread. I don't like doing that because I want to make sure that I have plenty, but we have to. Okay, and I'm just going to do a very primitive type of running stitch. I've already got that where it's coming up some, but this running stitch around the edges is going to keep it from coming apart. Now we need to try to get all of our knots out of our crochet thread before we start. And I'm going to go in through this felt material right in the corner and pull through. And I did not go through the back fabric yet. I'm hiding my end, crochet thread end. I'm hiding that behind this felt material. And if you want to make a knot, just to make sure that things don't fall apart, you can do that too. Okay, and then we're going to hide that tail under there. And like I said, just a very primitive type of running stitch, and rather big too. I'm not gonna do anything very petite. I want it primitive looking. So in and out, and I'm going through the back fabric, the front fabric, and my bubble mailer. So this is not going to be the easiest stitching you've ever done because you're going through a bubble mailer, but it is very cute. Y'all just watch and see how cute this is when we're finished up with it. Now my fabric from my muslin material is wanting to gather up, so that's the feathering you see going on. And then we have to get all the knots out. Okay, so just like that, Very primitive. I love the fabric feathering right there. It's a little bit of a pain getting it through both whenever you're pulling that stitch through, but it looks really good when it's just on that one stitch. I like how primitive that looks. Then I'm just pulling through again, doing that hand stitched primitive running stitch, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to go all the way around my journal cover doing that, and I'm not fixated on my stitch length or how far apart they are. Nothing. I am going to try to stay as straight as possible on the edge. Okay, see, it's turning out as cute as I thought it would. So I know you're thinking, oh, that's so plain. That's just a very plain stitch that you're doing. We're going to be adding some crochet stitches around it too. So no worries. We're gonna add stuff too. Don't worry about it. So these little stitches, these running stitches, are going to be kind of like our anchor stitches for when we start our crochet. So just keep doing this all the way around. When you get to a corner, you're just going to get there, come up, and then go straight again. Do another running stitch row all the way around, and I'll meet you back here. All right, I'm back around to the other corner. And what I have been having to do, y'all, because I've got such a thick cover, I've been having to pull this needle through with pliers or my teeth or something like that. So, just like that. But it's just because my cover is thick and I've got this very thick material on the front too. So I'm going to go through the back to finish off here, and then I'm going to go back up through that last corner stitch around like that. I'm going to cut that end right there. So if you're wondering why I'm leaving that like it is, like I did here, just to give it a little bit more character. I will spare y'all from showing you how I'm grabbing that with my eye teeth. If there are any dentist or dental hygienist, I apologize. Okay, I'm just going to finish that so it doesn't come undone in the muslin material back there. Get myself a good knot, and I'll leave that frayed off, and then I'm going to clip that. Give myself another couple of little frayed pieces. Now, one thing that I did get upset with myself that I should have thought of sooner before I started stitching is that I should have put some clips on these to keep everything in in line, because when I started stitching, the pulling that I was doing while I was stitching kind of moved my cover around on that plastic mailing piece, but we're going to cover up a bunch of that whenever we start our crochet. Alright, so I'm going to get my crochet hook and this same crochet thread. Right, so I want this to be my front here, so I'm going to start on the back just to make sure that everything looks alright. So I'm gonna thread that through that first little stitch there, and I'm gonna give myself, start a knot, and then I'm gonna go under that stitch that I made, that running stitch that I made, and I'm gonna pull my yarn back through, and that's going to give me my first little loop. Okay, so then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So chain 5, and then I'm going to go back down to that stitch, pull a loop through, and I'm going to just do a little chain stitch. So that's got me a little loop, a little slip stitch, little loop of stitches right there. So 5. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Same thing, go back down into the stitch, pull my loop, and then do a little slip stitch. Okay, and then 5 again. So 5, 3, 5. So odd numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back down to my stitch, pull up a loop, and slip stitch. So that's my first set of stitches there. A little loopity loop stitch. Okay, and then to get to the next stitch, I'm going to double crochet, 2 double crochets. Now this is American crochet terminology. If you are in the UK, you have different terminology, so you'll have to look up the stitches. I'm going to put this under this so maybe you can see it a little bit better. Nope, you can't. It probably needs to be really dark for you to be able to see that better. But as soon as I get some more of this done, you'll be able to see that pattern coming together. So there is the first set of loops on the stitch. Now in between the stitches, like I said, I'm going to do some double crochet. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to chain over to the next stitch, and I'm going to give myself a slip stitch into that next one. So then you have your little loopity loops here, and then you have this little chain right here. So that's what you're going to come back and do your double crochet on, is that little chain that you've made to the next stitch. Okay, so I've got my slip stitch there. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains, go back under that stitch, pull up a loop, do a slip stitch, and then 1, 2, 3 chains, back under that stitch, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and then 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go back in that stitch, pull up a loop, and then slip stitch that. Make sure you're holding on to that loop good. Slip stitch. Okay, and then you're going to chain 3 over to the next stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and then chain over here and slip stitch. So you're just pulling up a loop and going through that other loop. So you've got your little loopity loops there, you've got your little loopity loops there. Okay, so then we're going to do it again here. so when you get around to your ending where you started, I've got my 5 3 5 3 5 3 chain crochet stitching done all the way around. I've got my last stitch here, so here's my chain of 3, and then I'm going to go up underneath that stitch, pull up a loop, do me a slip stitch, and then I'm going to go, I just did 3, so I'm going to go 1 2 3 4 5, back under that stitch, slip stitch, and then 1 2 3, back under the stitch, slip stitch, and then 1 2 3 4 5, and then back under that stitch, slip stitch. We're just going to slip stitch, then we're going to chain 3, 1 2 3, just to get us over here to where we started. Okay, so then we're going to get onto this stitch here, and all we're going to do is pull up a loop and slip stitch onto that last stitch, or that starting stitch that we started on. And I've got my glasses on and I've got it away from me, that's why it's taken me just a tiny bit to get get over there. I was having to take my glasses off and get right up on this, because this is crochet thread. I'm used to working with yarn, just regular old yarn, so I'm having to get right up on it. Then we're going to do a double crochet, and I was talking about earlier, let's do 2 double crochets, but I think that's going to put too much bulk in our crochet stitch. We'll see when we get over there. I'm going to chain 3 from that slip stitch where we met ourselves there, and I'm just going to go back behind my group of stitches, my group of 5 3 5 stitches, and go back into that stitch and slip stitch again. So we're going to have a chain 3 back behind these, and then slip stitch. So there's our little chain 3 with our 5 3 5 on top of it. Then you are over here at your first chain 3, and you're going to double crochet. So you've got your loop, you're going to pull over a loop, you're going to go under that chain 3, back up, and you're going to go through 2 loops, come up, grab another loop, go through. That is your your double crochet there. And I think my original plan will work, doing 2 double crochet on those chain 3s. Yep, and that's going to fill that in nicely. So then we're going to do another 1 2 3 stitch, go back behind our little group here, and this is going to give us all kinds of pretty little loop-de-loops with our crochet. We're just slip stitching there. I'm going to have to pull this up closer to my face so I can see it better. Just slip stitching into that stitch there. Okay, so that fills that in just a little bit, gives us a different stitch there on that edge, and then we're going to double crochet again. So we've got our loop, and then we've rolled over another one, going into that chain 3 that we made on our first round, and doing a double crochet, and then same thing, doing another double crochet. And see, whereas here you can see in between the 2 spaces, we're starting here and you're not able to see in between the 2 spaces. So that's giving us a little kind of like snowball look around the edge of our journal. So I'm going to chain 3, go back behind my little bobble of 5, 3, 5, and slip stitch. There. And then I'm going to double crochet into that chain 3. And then one more time, double crochet. And that's getting our little border started. And I will get you still shots once I go all the way around, and show you once I get all the way around our little bobbles and snowballs. Alright, I am back around to where I started, and there is my 2 double crochets right there, my chain that I made there, and then I'm going to go back into that chain of 3, and I put my glasses back on, so my depth perception's gone again. Double crochet, and then one more double crochet in that chain 3. Okay, and then I'm just going to slip stitch in there to round that off. And so I've got my stitches all the way around. I'm going to get a piece of black cardstock here in a minute so y'all can see that a little bit better. And I'm going to slip that again and trim my thread, make my knot, and I'm going to let that hang off because I like that. Got some string over here too. Let me get that dark, let's see, I need a big piece here. Not black, but it's chocolate. So there is my stitching, and like I said, I will give you a still shot, and it's very primitive. I didn't want it perfection. It is crochet thread and not yarn. That's what I'm used to using anyway, but that is how my stitching looks around the edges, and then it's like quilted looking inside. I'm fine with the felt showing right there. I might add, when I add pockets or something, I might add something there so that you don't see all of that. But there is the front of my cover. That is the front, isn't it? Let's see here. Nope. This side is the front. That's what I was wanting as the front. That is going to eventually probably be how I close my journal. I wanted a piece of string hanging right there, so I don't know, I'll figure out which one I want as the front and which one I want as the back, but we're going to make some kind of closure for it. But I like that all the way around there. This is a darker red, so it kind of looks a little Christmassy, but I'm going to get away from that once we get next week's challenge going. But that is my very primitive fabric felt and crochet thread junk journal cover that I have made with junk mail. So I like that. I really like the inside, how you can see the bubble through that fabric. That is a neat little texture there. And then we'll be putting pockets on the inside. Of course, we'll put our signature in. But this was this week's challenge on Just Journal January, and I will, like I said, leave you links to the blog post where it has the freebies. You got freebies, and then you get instructions on what is the challenge each week. So this was the challenge this week. This is week 1 challenge, and it is making your journal cover with your mail, like a bubble mailer, and adding some stitching to it. So as you can tell, there are my stitch marks there. You can tell where I did my running stitch to get the whole cover together, and then I did some extra crochet stitching too. And very, very primitive, but I like it. Y'all have a great day. We will see you in the next video. Just journal January. Next week will be week 2, and we'll see you then. I'll probably have another video up before that, but anyway, we'll see you in the next one. God bless. Love y'all. Bye.